federal government has been widely criticized for not addressing current food inflation that is taking a toll on Nigerians. However, many analysts argue that state governments should also be accountable to the people and explain what they do with state resources and interventions from the federal and donor agencies. Since the removal of fuel subsidy in the first 1 year of President Tinubu's administration, state governments have witnessed a significant increase of revenue from the federal allocation. Findings show that states with over 50% increase include Abia, Benue, Ekiti, Katsina, Kwara, Lagos, Ogun, Osun, Plateau, and Taraba states. States that witness over 40% increase include Adamawa, Anambra, Borno, Cross River, Ebonyi, Enugu, Kano, Kebbi, Nasarawa, Niger, Oyo, and Sokoto states. And in the last 1 year of President Tinubu's administration, state governments have shared 5.34 trillion naira from the Federation Account Allocation Committee. In his recent presentation to Nigerians, President Tinubu said over 570 billion naira has been released to the 36 state governors to expand livelihood support to their citizens. And on daily politics tonight, we ask the big question: how are the state governors managing the people's resources at the subnational level? I'm Hamza Idris. Good evening and thank you for joining us. And for this conversation, here in the studio we have Murkthar Suleiman, a public affairs commentator, and Ibrahim Muhammad, national chairman, North Central Reality Movement of the APC. Gentlemen, thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll now take tidbits before commencement of the program. President Tinubu has sent a fresh message to Nigerians, urging them to be patient with his administration, assuring the country is about to enter a new dawn. Tinubu, in an official video released by the State House on Wednesday, acknowledged the hardship Nigerians are going through as a result of fuel subsidy removal. Have a look.
And there is no doubt that is tough on us. But I urge you all to look beyond the present temporary pains and aim at the larger picture. All our good and helpful plans are in the works. More importantly, I know that they will work. Sadly, there was an unavoidable lag between subsidy removal and these plans coming fully online. However, we are swiftly closing the time gap. I plead with you, please have faith in our ability to deliver and in our concern for your well-being. We will get out of this turbulence, and due to the measures we have taken, Nigeria will be better equipped and able to take advantage of the future that awaits her. For example, we shall fulfill our promise to make education more affordable to all and provide loans to higher education students who may need them. No Nigerian student will have to abandon higher education because of lack of money. Our commitment is to promote the greatest good for the greatest number of our people. On principle, we shall never falter. I assure you, my fellow countrymen and women, that we are exiting the darkness to enter a new and glorious dawn. Now, I must get back to work in order to make this mission come true. Thank you for listening, and may God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That was President Tinubu addressing Nigerians in a fresh video released by the presidential villa. And the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has revealed that Nigeria pays $600 million each month on fuel imports. According to him, the expenditure is partly because neighboring countries extended to Central African Republic are benefiting from these fuel imports. Speaking on national television on Wednesday, Edun explained that this situation prompted President Tinubu to remove the fuel subsidy as the country lacked precise data on its domestic fuel consumption. I will now take a short break. When we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Welcome back. Yes, of course, Ibrahim, I will start with you.
It's okay.
Bits. Tinubu spoke to Nigerians today, just 3 days after he addressed the nation over the raging protests. Will you say that maybe he's answering to the calls of Nigerians? Because many believe that that speech was actually not a speech because it did not address anything.
You know exactly, they will see it so because, you know, we Nigerians, if something comes up and it is not of your interest, definitely you turn back to it. You are getting me? If you check virtually everything he has said there, you are getting me? It's exactly what fits the reality that's on ground. I don't know if you're getting me.
Okay.
If you check the initial speech, you are getting me, is something that has to do with the whole protest that is on ground. So I don't know which point exactly or where are they even saying it's not fit with what's on ground.
Well, Nigerians, you know, from across the divide, and that condemnation came from Afenifere, where he, you know, people who are supposed to defend him, for instance, Northern Elders Forum, Wole Soyinka, you know, millions of Nigerians. If you check the social media, they said Tinubu did not speak to them. They believe that he maybe spoke to IMF, World Bank, because what he reeled out was just a repetition of electoral promises and then the damage done by the removal of fuel subsidy. So probably that was why he addressed the nation today.
You know, if
you differ?
No. Let me tell you something. What? When you talk of Afenifere, Wole Soyinka, and whatsoever, you are getting me. They are not politicians. Okay. In politics, when you talk of politics, you try much as possible to address what matters.
So as far as you are concerned, that speech was okay?
Very, very okay.
Okay, let me hear.
Very, very perfect. Very perfect.
Speech. And is there a nexus between that speech and what he spoke on today?
A little bit. I think what he spoke on today is just sort of a continuation from what he said earlier. But it's something I think we need to all understand as a country, is that macroeconomic data does not translate to micro realities. This is very, very important. So the entirety of the speech that President Tinubu gave on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, was a macroeconomic data of what is going on in the country. That's why most people have been saying that that's the kind of speech you give to IMF or the World Bank to get a loan. But it's not the kind of speech you give to protesters on the street, because let me tell you why. How much the removal of fuel subsidy has translated to significant economic hardship that has affected the littlest of the littlest in the economy, in the economic wheel. And the president needs to ensure that they are, and this was done without safety nets and a lot of things. You floated in Naira at the same time for a country who relies on 98% of importation. That means we need to, there will be a lot of pressure on FX, which will then in turn lead to the increase in price and goods and services. So I think the president needed to appeal. Nobody is saying that he should go back to fuel subsidy. I don't think it's a very good idea. I also don't think that we should go back to subsidizing the Naira either. But I also think that there is a way to pacify when you speak to the realities of people as opposed to speaking on a macroeconomic level. So I think that is where the president got it wrong in his speech. And most people, his advisors should have told him that these things would not have spoken to those people, those of us who were holding placards on the streets, because the realities that we have is that rice is expensive. What are you going to do about that? Because see, let me tell you where things are a bit poor. Yeah. The Nigeria Free Trade Area is dilapidated right now. The Nigerian Free Trade Zone, which is supposed to ensure that goods and services can transport within the country. Now, I have a friend who pays about 20 million naira every month. He has a rice mill up north. He pays about 20 million naira every month for him to be able to get 16 hours of power. Tell me, how would he reduce the price of rice when he's done with that?
So these are some specific things.
Yeah, and aside from that, the farm where he farms his rice, he has to pay illegal tax to bandits for him to be able to have access deep north. So all of these things, if the government can have a hold and get a grip of the free trade zone, ensure that there's adequate security, and also ensure that there's adequate social infrastructures to ensure that the manufacturing industry can thrive and businesses can thrive across all ramifications, it becomes a bit easier for price control to work. It becomes a bit easier for us to say, okay, it's high time we find better ways to soothe things. But for as long as we're paying premium price for gas, and then we're also paying illegal taxes to bandits, to non-state actors, these are the
Yes, ma'am. I can see you are agitated with what Murkthar said, but I have this question. When you look at the speech very well, it appeared consolatory, because he told Nigerians, the latest video, that he now acknowledged that there was maybe a gap. There was
Can I ask you a question,
wasted
please?
Between the time that the subsidy was removed and then the requisite interventions that government should have.
Before he comes in, sorry for butting in. Before he comes in, let me just chip in one thing. President Tinubu has not been. We can't accuse him of lacking empathy in his speeches.
Okay.
Compared to the military tone that President Buhari spoke with. President Tinubu speaks more empathetically and appeals to that empathy side. But beyond that, there need to be realities to some of the things that you're saying. Please.
All right. Ibrahim.
You just said something. In terms of the speech, you are getting me. You said he's not addressing the protestants on the street well, or...
That was the initial...
That was what you said.
Yes.
Okay, good and fine. The question I'm asking you now is simple. Who is protesting on the street and who will he address? Are you expecting him to come on the street or to come on air to still address the same people who hijacked the protest? This is somebody that came out and said they should come, there is a free table for negotiation, a free table for dialogue. Nobody has approached since then. You're getting me? He has been calling again and again repeatedly that whosoever who are the leaders of those people, even down to me myself, I make sure I look for who are the leaders of this. Is it the Showari who is in abroad? You are getting me? Instructing people or commanding people? You are getting me? If you want to fight for freedom, you come down and lead the people, be at the forefront. But if they said, who is this person? You can stand and beat your chest and say, you are the person. You are getting me?
In the present circumstances, do you expect the protesters, genuine ones, who government put them on watch list, who government, freezes their account, how can they come out?
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Let me tell you something.
Right.
I myself have led a protest before. I know the implication of protest. You are getting me? I have led a protest before, and I have seen protests led by so many leaders before. You are getting my point?
Including Tinubu, you too led.
Thank you very much. Oshomole and the rest, they once led protests. These are people that when you ask them about things, they come forward. I am the leader of this. They hold themselves. You see them clutching themselves, handcuffing each other, moving in forefront.
And this is what is missing.
You are getting my point.
Yeah.
You don't expect that would be so cheap of our president to come and stand addressing both the protestants and the hijackers. You are getting my point.
All right. I wish this is the topic of discussion, but it isn't.
Just a last statement. Just a last statement before we move. Just a last statement before we move. I agree. Yeah. I think his assertion are well-founded, actually. My position on the protest was that it was disorganized, and the protests are not meant to be that way. In the words of Martin Luther King, he said the essence of a non-violent, creative non-violent protest is to ensure that you can create such tension that matters that those in power has refused to attend to, they then are forced to come to the table and sit. I agree that it was actually incoherent, but then again, it goes to show you the realities of people. It was so disorganized. People just felt like it was an opportunity for them to actually loot and cause mayhem. I agree that the approach with which the protest went was completely wrong. But I also want to, this does not in any way tone down on the realities that there are hardships and there are clear microeconomic steps that the president could take to find ways to solve this problem.
All right. The next tidbit is actually closely related to this.
Yes.
Dont's
statement
that 600 million was being spent to import fuel. But what Nigerians are still asking question is, should the citizens pay for the sins of government? Because if you say that what is being imported, you don't have the total number of liters, and is benefiting Benin, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, up to Central African Republic, and therefore we have to remove the subsidy. Is that a fair justification for Nigerians?
Let me say something here.
Okay, you will respond to this.
If it comes to that of subsidy, you are getting me. You see, subsidy itself is a total scam. And the more we continue with this subsidy, you are getting me, the more some particular individuals continue to benefit from that subsidy while others are suffering. You are getting my point.
But Ibrahim, don't you think, as far as Nigerians are concerned, they rather have their subsidy back? Because since the removal over a year ago, we are still, going round in
No, it is still something they are working on. You are getting me? When you are on a process, nobody sees the betterment of it until you get to the extreme end. You are getting me? Like there is a say that says, nobody wants to know your struggle, but they just want to feel your bubbling. You are getting my point? He said this thing initially. He says he's about to take a bold step. Subsidy is the final remover, but then we will feel it, but we just have to bear it.
Yeah.
You are getting my point. Now tell me, do you know there was a time that it got to an extent that the federal government couldn't pay salaries anymore?
Yeah.
The federal government couldn't pay salaries anymore. You are getting my point. Because if you check these oil marketers and these whole oil people, got to a point that they only benefit from these subsidy things, they are self all alone to themselves. You are getting my point. Someone will get up and will come overnight. You are getting me? They will snap some trucks and get the picture of a filling station. You will hear that whosoever that started oil business today is already a trillionaire. How do they do this? They manipulate their ways with the NNPC, whatsoever they call themselves. You're getting me? They have their way out. So these people now are very much ready to do anything to make sure they crash this system that will benefit a common man in Nigeria.
All right, let me have your take, Murkthar, on this. What Idris says, so that we can move into the subject of discussion.
To some of his points, I do agree with him, actually. And I've said earlier that I don't think we should go back to the first subsidy system right now. But subsidy is not really a scam in any way. There are countries who subsidize in lots of things. They have
instruments on ground to manage it.
I agree.
Well. Yeah.
So when we see a problem that is a systemic problem, there's cause and effect for everything.
Yes.
So we should not focus on the effect if we cannot handle the cause. Unless you deal with the cause. If I have mosquito in my house every single day, but there's a stagnant water outside my window, if I keep spraying fleets every single day without tackling that stagnant water, I'll keep getting mosquitoes every day. So the point I'm trying to make is there is a systemic problem, and I think the only way for us to handle it is to do a hard reset in the system, which is remove the fuel subsidies first. If we need to go back to it in the far future, perhaps we'll do that eventually. But right now, this is not the best time for us to go about it. But even at that, we need to. The government needs to also ensure that there is a stable and an efficient intra and intercity transport network. The rail lines, yes, to ease it. The rail lines were a good thing, but then since the attack on the train, they've not been able to garner public trust to come back and start using the train again. That's on one side. Can we link the train from Maiduguri all the way to Lagos and then increase the speed? That's also something we need to also consider as a country. If we can ensure that there is a stable and efficient intra and intercity transport network, we can ensure that there is stable power across the country. Fuel can be sold for 1,000 naira. We know that then at that point we'll say, if you're going to go and buy fuel, we know it's for your personal comfort.
Can I chip in? You just said something. You're getting me. In terms of the transportation, when last did you travel from east to west? Let's forget about that of the north, and the rail you're talking of is just the Kaduna-Abuja railway that you're talking of.
Yeah.
You're getting me? If you're discussing about the Abuja-Kaduna railway, I will still tell you that you don't know much about it because you just said something that is capital wrong, which is what? You're getting me?
Yeah.
An incident happened, of which we all know the insecurity problem in our country. And since then, they've been working on the system.
All right, Ibrahim, that should be another conversation for another day. Our subject of the day is states get record high revenue under Tinubu. Where is the money? We are now taking the conversation too subnational. Throughout this demonstration period, you can see the attacks were targeted at the federal government. Are you agitated that not much attention is being paid to what is happening at the state level? Of course, I reeled out figures. I named some states that they are getting double of what they were getting pre-subsidy. Yes.
You just said something very, very clear, and I appreciate that point. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
When this whole thing started, and if I look at some Nigerians, the way they were agitating and the way they are crumbling, I just laugh. You are getting me? Which is what? Okay, you came out, you said you were protesting. What are your agendas? You made mention of them.
Bad governance.
You are getting my
Hunger.
point. Fine, you said bad governance. You are getting... See, let me just be sincere with you. This President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so far so good. In fact, before I even proceed anywhere furthermore, you are getting me, I must appreciate and I will commend 4 other persons that have tried.
But it's not about commendation.
No.
The question I ask Ibrahim is,
they are still
are you... No. It's not about, I'm not talking about Tinubu
okay,
now.
No problem.
I'm talking about, are you concerned that a lot of money, released to the governors? Where is the problem?
Very.
Yes.
This money were released to them. You are getting me on the basis that you will go, and at the end you come back and give account of what you've used the money for.
Yes.
You are getting my point. But since the whole thing now look as if you are getting, it's all about the federal government all alone to himself. And these same governors again, I can assure you that some of them are part and parcel of the people supporting these protestants. You will see them on media, they will say, okay, no problem, you're protesting, continue, I'll be with you. You're getting me? Like that of the Rivers State governor, he came out boldly and said, no problem, in fact, I will give you money for pure water. You are
but
getting
I think
my
you
point.
wanted to appease them so that they will not pounce on
Listen
him
to me,
and
you don't abuse people like that. You are getting my point. You don't abuse people like that. When you are trying to handle a situation, we know there are other ways of handling things, but you don't abuse somebody in trying to implicate another person.
Okay, well, let me hear from Murkthar. Why do you think people paid attention to the center while a lot of resources have been released to, state governors? We mentioned that states that got 50%, assuming they were getting 1 billion during Buhari, now they are getting 2 billion every month. And we have Abia, Benue, Ekiti, Katsina, Kwara, Lagos, Ogun, Oshun, Plateau, and Taraba states.
I think this is a testament to the nature of the way our constitution is structured. For the longest time, we've been talking about restructuring that particular constitution. Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which outlines the responsibilities of the government to its people, does not in any way state what the repercussions are for not doing your job as a government. And that speaks very poorly of us as a country, for a country of over 200 million people. So I think we need to take a look at it again and ensure that responsibility is placed where responsibility should be. The government does not exist in an abstract. There are specific actors who operate within the system, down to the civil servants and the public office holders. So we need to see how we can communicate that more clearly. We need to decentralize the system and understand that the government and the hardship is not just at the center alone, that there's a responsibility of the states and also of the local government, especially with the new Supreme Court ruling that says that local government should be getting their monies directly. So we need to actually look at those aspects, and we need to communicate them to, and this is where the civil society space needs to do more in communicating the decentralized functions of each and every one of these different tiers of government. And I've always said that good policies and good politics is what brings good governance. So I can tell you for free that there's good politics going on in the states, or in the legislative arm of government, because right now we have the most diverse Senate, and yet certain absurd policies are passing. no single party has 2/3 of the Senate to pass any policy. That means they need to be cross-party working for each policy to pass. Anybody that brings up a policy. So it is really sad and disheartening what is going on. And I think more and more Nigerians need to look to their state governors, just to also not as a way of a repartee per se, but just also put more clarity. Let's put it that way to something that he said. I do think that politics will always politic. No matter what you want to say, politics will always play. You cannot take it away from the polity. In fact, it is there. Politics will always play out. Sim Fubara is of the opposition. Of course, he's going to say what he says, what he said. But let's not forget that your right to protest is protected not just by the policies and other addendums in other guidelines, but also significantly by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
But he never obstructs. He didn't obstruct anybody from protesting. You're getting me. And he says these protestants, him single-handedly, Mr. President, provide security for them, and he has called the president, and he has called the whole entire head of security chiefs and said, please and please, as they are going out, make sure nobody is injured. And at the same time,
Ibrahim, now sorry. I think I do agree with his assertion, because if you look at previous governments, before now, with the level of mayhem that ensued at the beginning of the protest, somebody like a Buhari would have thrown a national curfew, and there would have been military parade in the streets.
So Tinubu is still a politician,
yes,
in your estimation.
So my point, it still goes back to the politics and policies bringing about good governance significantly. So I think the president, where we see something good, we should say it. But when we see something that is out of place, because he is not absolute. He's not absolute in all of his endeavors. There are areas where he has actually flawed significantly.
Like which of the areas?
Anyway, I will not allow you to go into that. My question, Ibrahim, my question to you now is the impact of the protest was most severe in the north. You can see the havoc wreaked in Kano, in Borno, in Yobe, in Bauchi around Katagu, in Plateau State. Why is the momentum negatively, more severe in the
well, good. I appreciate that question, and that's a very good question. You see, for that you're saying, the governors should be held responsible for that, because when you are in a government and you are told that something of that nature is coming up, you are getting me? Being the head of that state, you are supposed to make sure you do what is necessary with immediate effect. That was the other phase I was trying to enter the other time, which you stopped me.
Yeah.
You are getting me a very clear picture now, which I told you the other time. There are some people that I must appreciate in this government and within the APC. You are getting me? Which is who? The SGF, Senator George Akume. A clear picture, go to Benue State. You are getting me? Just put a call across in Benue State and tell me if anybody protested in Benue State.
Why they didn't protest? Good. Is it that the governor is channeling the resources to the people? Because we're talking about
not even the governor. Immediately this thing was announced, you are getting me? He just moved immediately. Please, make sure you enlighten these people what they're about to do. Let them know what they're about to start, and they should know the repercussion of what will come out of it.
Okay.
Because there is a clear picture about the whole thing. By the time you said you want to do A, you are getting me? There might be somebody who is interested in A, B, C, D, and that is when they will come out.
Yes.
A clear picture again. Let me even give you a good example again. The former governor of Plateau State, you're getting me, which is Governor Joshua Daire. This is somebody that came out boldly, knelt down and begging the citizens of Plateau State, telling them that please, they've known our Plateau to be a place of crisis. But I beg you, I'm not obstructing you from protesting, but make sure this time, let's give people a different name. I personally will say, Mr. President, and I will take your cry before him. Whatsoever the matter be, it's called for dialogue.
Okay, Murkthar, come in here. We said the protest was severe? Is it that governors in the north, considering the chunk of money they got, maybe they misplaced it or they didn't do the right thing? Why will you say the money was misplaced? Yes, but because the protest is all about, they say good governance and bad governance. And it's all about prudent allocation of resources.
I was reading Farouk Perogi's piece on his opinion about the protest. And there's something he said that actually stuck, which is this protest actually showed that the northern leaders have lost grip of influencing the north as significantly as they used to. In the past, it would have been a bit easier very quickly for if the emirs came out, they spoke. Northern Elder Forum, some members of the Northern Elder Forum also spoke on this particular issue. Ordinarily, before now, you would have seen that there would have been a lot of calm in the north, but that was not the case here. And I think again, it still goes back to tell you what the realities of people are. I know people, Hamza, that cannot eat. See, it's hard. There's a lot of hardship out there, and this is stemmed from not because the president passed poor policies. They were just poorly implemented. You cannot remove the fuel subsidy and float the naira at the same time for a country that relies heavily for 98% of its produce to be imported. So I don't think that they were bad policies. I just think that the route with which we went about it was actually wrong, especially for a country where we've been the...
Which he admitted today. But Murkthar, the question would be,
I must say something.
No. Before you say it, listen to me, look at it. I want us to actually arrive at somewhere.
Exactly.
Because all the blames, all the time, at the center. So what I'm saying is, Tinubu and his people, they say, look, go and ask your governor.
Yes.
Where is the money? So this is where I want us to actually center our conversation. Policy, whether good or bad.
Apart from the Zamfara state governor, no governor has moved home and called his or her people and said, "Come, this is what I have brought from the federal government, and this is what we'll do with it, and this is how it will play."
Why are other governors silent? And why do you think people maybe of your ruling party not talking to their governors? For instance, look at what happened in Kano.
No.
At what level did Kano deteriorate to where it got to during this crisis?
You see, like he just said something. You are getting me. That in politics, you are getting me. It will always be politics. Let me give you a clear example. You are getting me. You see, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today, nobody expects him becoming the president. You are getting me. He was there. He is there by God's grace. And, it's just like when God says, it's your time, and nothing whatsoever or nothing can be done about it. Okay, let me give you a clear picture about the whole scenario. Even in the APC itself, you are getting me, there is still the same politics that involves the cabal thing. You are getting my point. If you are not in the game, you won't know exactly what.
That's why we have now intra-party conflict, which is actually affecting the people. Look at some of the governors of your party. For instance, Gombe State governor. He said the 20 trucks has not reached Gombe. This is an APC governor.
In terms of the trucks, you are getting me. I don't want to start mentioning names, but I have my clear evidence, videos, and there's even a governor that these same trucks were sent to him, and they were rebagging it from the federal government.
Even though they said it was an allegation.
What I saw the video also, that we have the clear copy of it. If it is an allegation, you are getting me. This is a state government. They will be able to trace whosoever that's spreading that thing on media to make sure they bring that person to book. You are getting my point. As I'm talking to you today, in fact, there is a governor that came out on air and was saying he has not received a truck of rice. A Nasarawa state governor, he said he has not received a truck of rice. You are getting my point. This is still the whole same politics whatsoever I'm trying to tell you. Because if you check now on how the whole thing is going, you could remember palliative was given to these people. You are getting me. And they refused sharing it. This whole thing was stopped until the hungry citizens start vandalizing, invading this place to take this thing by force themselves.
All right, Murkthar, what is
so how is that supposed to be the business of the federal government?
If ruling party is somewhat in disarray, challenging itself, no consensus to some degree between the president and the governors, do you think anything the president will do will actually trickle down and cascade to the people at the grassroots?
You see, if you talk to people who worked under former President Olusegun Obasanjo, they will tell you that Obasanjo will tell them, I have employed you and I've given you these appointments based on your brains. Go and do your work. If anybody gives you a problem politically, bring them, report them to me. I will handle the politics, you handle the policies. The point I'm trying to make here is it shouldn't be of our concern what the internal politics is.
That is, you are referring to citizens?
Yes, to the citizens. The president is the leader of the party as it stands, and if I recall vividly when he said, do not pity me, I asked for the job, I got it, and I will do it. So I don't think blame games will take us anywhere. I've not heard the president playing the blame game yet. Not significantly. I've heard those who work for him do that. Oh, former administration this, former administration that. But the point we're trying to make is, it is also very important for the president to know that it is imperative on him, and part of his terms of reference as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and as the leader of the APC, to keep his house in order. He has to look for a way to mandate. How does he do it? I don't know. I don't know how he's going to go about it, but it is part of his job. He should know. It's one of two things. If he did not know, he speaks to his ignorance. If he does know, he speaks to his incompetence. So either ways, he does not speak well of the president. He needs to keep his own house in order. Now, another thing, coming back to the state governors, I think for the longest time, we've excused them for the longest time. I think right now more and more people are beginning to learn that, there is some accountability that is eminent or that is resident with the state governors, and we need to march to the state government. I think in one of my former pieces on the newspaper, one of the on the opinion columns of the newspaper, I said something around why policy advocacy fail in Nigeria is because by and large, when we do a lot of clamoring at the center in the FCT, we forget to go follow up at the state. So we need to actually then begin to start focusing on the states to ensure that those who are closer to us in the...
Yes, Ibrahim, I will ask you now, when you look at it, from all indications, the savings from the subsidy removal that is being shared across the states, but people are still crying. Is there any magic one, maybe the leadership of your party, APC? Because the governor, the chairman of the party can summon meeting alongside the president to talk to members of the APC. You are a youth leader. To now talk to these governors to start working for the people.
Let me just answer a particular question. Let me give him an answer to something he just said.
But I want you to give me
I'll give you your answer. I'll give you your answer.
Okay,
but there is a point I want to defend.
Okay.
He just said something that the politics in his government should not be the business, the problem of the people. Actually, there is no politics in his governance. You are getting my point. If there is politics in his governance, there is no way he will bring somebody he knows is able and capable from a different party. You are getting my point.
That?
Which is Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister.
Okay.
You are getting me.
Okay.
He cannot bring somebody, as we speak today. You are getting me. Mr. President is somebody that if he knows you are able and capable, he can even take you from Labour Party and appoint you to come and do the job.
Okay, enough of that.
And you heard him saying something recently that the ministers should be very ready. If you are not doing your work, there's going to be a shake-up.
Okay, Ibrahim, answer the question I ask now.
Okay.
Of course.
Sorry, can you come again with his...
Your attention was on, saying
that's
Wike,
because I wanted giving him an answer, because Wike is one of our working machines that we are not supposed to touch.
So I said, okay, because now
he has given us something to beat the chest.
Yes, I'm in charge, Ibrahim. Look at it. I am asking, yes, what I'm saying is the issue of revenue from the state that, I mean the federal government that is going to the states, is there any magic wand the party will deploy so that Nigerians will begin to see in concrete terms, yes, after the removal of fuel subsidy?
No, actually, you are getting me when it comes to that aspect. The party, all the party has to do is to advise on what should be done, call the governors and let them know, okay, come, this is our party and this is our government. You are getting me.
Yes.
You shouldn't give us a bad name for the return of our government again. You are getting my point. But like he said something, you are getting me. In a scenario whereby politics has hijacked virtually everything, you are getting my point. You will now see that the clear picture in the whole scenario there is not even clear again. If you could check, lately Ndeme was suspended. You are getting me, and all of a sudden again, after the whole scenario, he came back. It is still the whole same politics. You are getting my point. The present party chairman itself that is there today, you are getting me, has no right to discipline any governor. You are getting me.
He can only advise.
He can only
because
advise.
Every member is actually subservient to.
Even the president himself, can be called
by the national
you are
chairman.
getting me, can be called by the national chairman. That one is certain. But it is the right of every individual in a state to petition his or her governor.
Okay, so you are now asking citizens to hold their leaders to account.
Yes, we are willing to give the evidence. The federal government is willing to give the evidence. Okay, now I have given the rice.
Yes.
20 trucks to each of your governors.
So ask them.
Go and meet them. I have released money for subsidy. Ask them. Because these are the same people that are still conniving to face Mr. President, and if everybody turns up, they come, Mr. President, Tinubu. The question is as simple. The money has been given to them.
So
what
people should start asking.
Everybody should go and ask his or her governor.
Murkthar,
what have they done with the money?
There was this statement from Senator Musa from Niger State. He is calling for an emergency summit of the North. That the Vice President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Northern governors, senators, members of House of Reps, the SGF, ministers from the region, House of Assembly members from the state, and leaders of thought, including recognized youth groups, to convoke a regional conference to address the existential problem. Are you with him on this call?
The question would be, for me, the question I would ask is, what are the objectives?
Because you can see many believe that the protest that we witnessed is actually a northern affair. This is
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
No,
I don't think
it's
allow Murkthar. Yes, I will give you a chance, even though we are rounding up. Yes,
I don't think it's a northern affair per se. I think the same hardship that we face here, the same hardship.
But the collateral damage was recorded in the north.
Because for the longest time, the north doesn't know how to protest. They've always told us that protest is haram, forgetting that there are other verses of the Quran that says you should hold up your people and go ask for demand for justice. But
so are you with him, or you have another?
I don't think that is a solution, because that would be a gathering of elites.
Then what will be the solution in your estimation?
In my own estimation, again, the fact that has been given, there should be transparency in it. I think Nigerians are very understanding. People trust.
So it's not about meeting.
They said if you push a Nigerian to a wall, you will know that a wall can be elastic.
All right, I will stop you there.
Patient.
We have less than 1 minute. Are you with Senator Musa on convoking regional conference, or you are also with Murkthar that governors should be accountable?
You see, when you start talking of calling a regional conference, you are getting me. It's still all about the politics of a thing we're saying. This protest is something that has happened within the whole Nigeria. You are getting me. But it's just that of the north is extremely brutal.
Why?
Yes,
is it that the level of poverty?
No, not the level of poverty. Let me tell you something. From my own perspective.
Yes.
You are getting me. If you check clearly, most of all the states are states that if you see that the present governor with the past governor are not in good terms, or the present party and the past party are not in good terms.
So there is political dimension.
You are getting me. So
yes.
These two people would try, or I see it as if they try to
undermine
each other.
Then what is the way?
You are getting me? Because a clear picture, like in Kano now,
yes.
You are getting me. We saw several people sending us a clear picture of our own party member. You are getting me? Fronting the protest. Even up till now, nobody has called him to order. We don't know the reason why. That's why I'm trying to tell you that the clear picture of this whole, you are getting me, protesting is just like a victimization to Mr. President.
All right, I will hold your breath on your behalf here because we have run out of time. But we'll bring you again to discuss more on this. Mohammed Ibrahim, National Chairman, North Central Reality Movement of the APC. So thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
And Murkthar Suleiman, Public Affairs Commentator. Thank you for giving the accountability aspect of the whole affair and calling on governors to be accountable to their people. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And just that's a wrap on today's package. We hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join Daily Politics, airing every weekday, and our special package on Friday, during which we open the telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Stay safe wherever you are. Bye-bye from here. I'm Hamza Idris.